and welcome back to Mellohi, a Dream SMP podcast. This is episode 24, and today we'll be discussing Nikki's character. As always, we refer to the characters by name and specify when we're talking about the writers, and we try to focus more on analysis. And we're back!
Hello!
Hello.
We're talking about something fun today. Well, we talk about fun things
We're
every
going
time.
to talk about Nikki's character.
Yay! Nikki, my beloved!
I'm kind of like a casual Nikki fan. Like, I won't watch all of her streams or all of her lore streams or anything. But like, she's interesting.
Yeah, I'm a huge fan of Nikki's character, even though I haven't watched like all of her like streams all the way through, or like all of her lore streams all the way through, but I'm like very knowledgeable, at least of like her overarching story. And yeah, I love Nikki. Nikki, my beloved. Nikki is the best character on the SMP. She's had the most and the best character development, and yet she's often overlooked, and that makes me sad. So I'm going to just make sure everyone listening to this, positively,
Nikki
thinks of
appreciation.
Nikki now. Yes, Nikki appreciation, because she deserves it, because she a queen, and we stand queens here. How do we want to...
I think her character development is cool.
Her character development... Okay. I ended up ranting about this on Reddit the other day because someone made one of those posts. Oh, someone made a post on the Dream SMP Reddit talking about the Dream SMP Awards and how was Techno the one who got number one? I don't remember. I think Techno got number one on that, which, whatever. But I ended up responding to it, talking about that, and then I ended my Reddit post with, we all know that Nikki should have won that poll in the first place, so, like, whatever. And the person who made the post was like, what, can you, like, expand on that? Why does Nikki deserve it? And I ended up writing, like, a full, like, I don't know, like 3 or 4 paragraph, practically an essay. Yeah, it was basically like a summary of why Nikki is just like the best as far as character development goes. And I don't know, I've always been a huge character Nikki fan because she's just amazing. I don't know, I should talk about this because I guess I'm the expert here on Nikki, so I should probably actually talk about it.
Go talk about it. Go rant.
Yeah. All right. So we're going back to early Manburg, and Nikki upon joining the server. So I think character Nikki, at least in the beginning, I think is kind of similar to like actual Nikki. Like, she's pretty soft-spoken. She's generally very, very nice. She cares about people. She wants what's best for them. She wants to help people. She just sort of wants to vibe, you know. Like, she's just a good person. And character Nikki is the same way. So, I think, like, immediately after joining the server, she ends up involved in conflict, though, but not really because of anything she did, but just because Manburg versus Dream Team was still sort of, like, had just recently settled, but was still kind of an issue because the revolution was over, but it was still, intense, like, disc war conflicts and all that crap. And so Nikki joins Manburg, but we also get like this super sweet little
Dream
thing
gives Nikki a
at
little
the beginning.
welcome.
Yeah, we get the super sweet thing at the beginning with Dream offering her a book that says welcome, and I was just like, yee, that's so cute. But so Nikki joins Manburg and she makes a bakery, and that kind of becomes her thing, right? It becomes her thing that she's like a bakery person, like she bakes, and that's sort of like her hobby and whatever, and it's very nice. She bakes like cakes and bread and everything for everyone. I think it's a part of her character that gets represented very well a lot of the times, but it becomes so significant, and like I can't explain how this like one minor thing is super important until later. But like so Nikki joins the Manburg. She's like one of the few Manburgians who stays friends or is friends with Eret because obviously most of the Manburgians are like, he's a traitor, blah 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 blah.
She doesn't have any of that bias.
She doesn't have any of that bias, and as far as she knows, like, Eret's pretty cool. Eret's got a castle. Eret's just a bro. Like, Eret's great.
Wilbur is jealous of the fact that Nikki's hanging out with Eret.
Yes, he is. Wilbur's a jealous little hoe. Not a surprise there. Wilbur is very upset that Nikki is hanging out with Eret. And the weird thing is that it doesn't even seem like he's necessarily upset because Eret's a traitor. It's more that he's upset because he thinks that Eret's cooler than him. And that if he has like Nikki or anyone else like hangs out with Eret, that like they're gonna not like him as much and like they're gonna think Eret's cooler, the cooler Brit, and abandon him. But that's not what happens, obviously, because Nikki has an idea of how to have healthy friendships, you know? But she becomes, like, one of, like, the crew for, I don't want to say the background Manburgians, because that's really stupid. But she's, like, pals with, like, Jack and Fundy and Eret, and sort of, like, the Manburg crew that makes up, like, the actual citizens of Manburg, and actually does stuff together. Her and Fundy end up involved in the pet wars pretty early on, I want to say, because I'm pretty sure, I think most people know this. Sapnap shot Nikki and Fundy, or Nikki's fox. Sapnap shot Nikki's fox because he was doing, like, Russian roulette with a bow and aiming around the fox, and then shot and, like, one-shot it. And that was, like, the first pet war. That eventually,
God damn it, Sapnap.
Yeah, exactly. And it was her and Fundy end up fighting Sapnap, and then Tommy gets involved somehow. I don't actually know a bunch about, pet war lore. I should learn about that.
Oh god, I don't know when this happened, but I remember distinctly that Dream actually... I think this is like probably later on, but Dream comes over and tells Sapnap that his pet was killed by Nikki or someone else for Fundy, and then he follows Sapnap, who walks into one of their bases, and there's an Enderman there, and he's about to set the Enderman free. I remember that scene, and I think that's also part of another pet war.
Yeah. Yeah, there's so many, like, pet war, like, okay, so many pets die on this server, so, like, excuse us for not being able to keep track of exactly which ones sparked which fight, considering, like, pet wars were going on for ages between, like, multiple characters, although Sapnap is, like, always involved. Always involved. Because it's Sapnap.
Wasn't there one time when Dream was splashing a bunch of health potions onto a fox as people were trying to kill it?
Yeah, that was also Sapnap. It was Tubbo's replacement fox because... I guess I shouldn't say Tubbo's because it's kind of weird. During Pogtopia, Antfrost gives Nikki another fox that he names Mushroom, I think. And it's left in the Pogtopia, like, ravine or whatever. Oh, fungi? Or fungi? I don't...
Fungi?
Did I just say fungi?
Fungi, I think.
Fungi. I don't remember. It's something involving mushrooms. That's all I know. But Dream and Tubbo are hanging out, and they try and go and get it out of the ravine.
And they have to keep Sapnap away from it.
Well, they kill it. They kill Nikki's fox, and then I want to say Puns brings Tubbo a replacement to give to Nikki, or like replace the original fox, and then Tubbo's just like, okay, this is mine now. this is Skechers, I think, or Skechers. What the hell did he name the fox? I don't remember. It's the fox that ends up in Snowchester. It's like a Arctic fox. It was really cute. But yeah, Sapnap wanted to pet it, which involved him, killing it.
Yogurt.
And then
he renamed it Yogurt.
No, Yogurt's Fundy's fox.
Fundy. Oh.
Wasn't
Yogurt a different name though earlier?
Maybe, I don't know. There was a lot of foxes at the same time. I think
Didn't someone steal one of Techno's foxes?
Yeah, I don't know if Techno ever named his foxes. I just know that there's
I
quite a
think
few
one of
snow
them's
foxes.
Blitz?
One of them's called Blitz.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But anyways.
no. Anyways, I'm getting off track. Yeah, so Pet War, blah, 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 blah. The Manburg Revolution happens before she gets on, but the election happens during her thing. And this is where we learn that Nikki is a freaking badass and deserves all the respect as the one true and only woman who was ever a part of Manburg. She did more for that country, and she had more spine than any of the men in that country involved.
Kind of a bad spy though, because like if you're trying to sabotage a nation, you don't want to be like actively like arguing with the leader.
True, she didn't really go for the sabotage
Fundy was a better
route.
spy.
Well, yeah, she wasn't a good spy, but she had more like she had more balls
stood
though,
up to
because
it.
she stood up to Schlatt directly like multiple times. So like she
Yeah.
was the like open rebellion within the country because for anyone who doesn't know listening to this, because I'm sure there's some people who weren't around during election arc, which wow. Time flies. Yes, I feel old. So during the election arc, we start out with Nikki and Fundy, and this is okay. We're going into character development here too, because prior to the elections, Nikki, Fundy, Jack, they were all sort of like the background Lembergians in the sense that they were like the quieter crew that people didn't really go to or listen to. And that is part of the reason when the elections happen, Nikki and Fundy end up actually running a campaign to be elected at the same time as like Quackity and Wilbur are. Unfortunately for them, they're also disregarded in general, despite, you know, running for it, which kind of sums up...
They tried to commit voter fraud.
Fundy is trying to commit voter fraud because it's Fundy. Fundy is like the equivalent of Swiper from Dora the Explorer on that server. But like this is like the start of like Nikki's character development, right? Because Nikki is trying to show that she's not just the quiet baker girl. She has a voice and she has things that she wants to be heard about and she wants to be listened to and show like that she can have an effect on the country too, because so far no one listens to her, no one really respects her, she's just kind of there. Of course she loses and Schlatt becomes president, and Nikki decides that she's going to make sure her voice is heard in the fact that she basically openly rebels against Schlatt from the get-go. As soon as he exiles Tommy and Wilbur, she's like the first one yelling at him and being like, this is wrong, you can't be doing this. She openly defies him, or like yells at him like 4 or 5 times, and every single time she just absolutely rips him apart and Schlatt just laughs it off, which I mean, good for Schlatt, I guess, but at the same time, like go Nikki. Not without punishment though, considering he then decides that he's going to tax the hell out of her. And only
and then
tax
imprison her.
Yeah, and then she actually tries to get Quackity to help her stand up against Schlatt and basically rebel against him and take over as the president, because she's like, well, this isn't like I don't stand for this, I didn't want this, I doubt you want this either, help me stop him. Quackity doesn't say yes, but he also says that he's not gonna turn her in to Schlatt until she or someone accidentally shoots him while he's on his way back to the White House and he dies, and then he spills the entire beans to Schlatt, and then Nikki ends up in jail, which he then helps her out of, but like,
isn't it like a terrible jail?
Yeah.
It was like Jack Manifold's balcony and some dirt.
Yeah,
Or something like that.
it's like the original courthouse on the Dream SMP that you can technically get out of, because it's literally just cobblestone walls and a few iron bars. And I'm pretty sure Quackity just like mines out the back of it, so she just escapes, and then he's like, oh, I have no idea where she went, I didn't even know she escaped, blah blah blah. But
Is it the one that's floating in the air?
it might have been the courthouse. was? I don't know. I feel like it was like a
Or
part
was
of the
it
White
the
House.
one that because I remember I know about two courthouses. One that's cobblestone and floats in the air, and I think that's Tubbo's.
Yeah.
And there's the original courthouse, which is made of wood.
Yeah. I don't think it was. I
That
don't
the
think she
Dream
was.
Team used once.
Yeah, I don't think she was put into any of those jails. I'm pretty sure they just like locked her in like a cobblestone room inside of the White House, and we're like, "Oh, you're in jail now." And then Quackity just like mined out the back for her, and she escaped. And then he just kind of covered for her, which like bro move on Quackity's part, because even he seemed to realize that not everything was all shiny with Schlatt, but right. So we can already see though, because let me rant about character development here, because this is already like signs of character development, because we had Nikki start as sort of like this meeker person who never really like took a stand for things, and sort of just was like friends with everybody and just sort of nice, but then to a Nikki who's demanding to have her voice heard and is one of the only people in Manburg openly defying and standing against Schlatt, which takes like major guts to do, even if it doesn't work out very well for her, considering she just gets like taxed into bankruptcy and then all this other stuff. But Nikki, my girl, like, you are a boss, and more people should know that. Nikki rep. Right, so I feel like I'm just like I feel like I'm just ranting. Alright,
Keep going. It's fine. I know nothing.
Right, so Nikki ends up obviously working on Pucktopia's side, but she has no idea about Wilbur planning to blow up the country. She helps in November 16th. She fights against Dream's squad, or like the Manburgian mercenaries. Has a nice ring to it. I feel like I'm gonna use that from now on. But the Manburg side, obviously they win. They get to the whole boom boom, destroy the country. Oh yeah, no, yes, right, Sabu, good mention. Yeah, no, there is at one point during November 16th, during the fight between Pucktopia and Manburg, she actually does break a block, and underneath it, and it's like right after Schlatt dies, I think, she breaks a block as like Tommy and Tubbo and Wilbur are having their conversations about like who's becoming president. And I think she knew that at one point Wilbur had planned to kill Schlatt by like blowing him up or something. Because it's like underneath the throne, or like the stage that they stand on, that she broke the block, and she does see it, and she kind of like looks around like all confused, and then covers it back up because she's like, okay, well, this isn't something I should be showing people. So obviously we see everything that happens with Wilbur blowing up the country, and this is like stage 2 of Nikki character development, and it's also incredibly sad.
Wait, before we get to that part.
Yes, what?
Wasn't she involved in the Battle of the Lake?
I think so, because that was like a pet war
as like
thing,
a hostage. It was one of the pet war things between Sapnap and Tommy, and I think she was on Tommy's side, but so Sapnap, Puns, and the Badlands basically imprisoned her, but Ant let her go. Ant let her free.
Okay. Yeah,
so she was like a hostage during that.
I don't know anything about that war, man. Gosh, I need to like check up. Like, I know the Battle of the Lakes happened, but I think that's like one of the few like streams I didn't watch live and had no idea what was going on when I got back. But yeah, maybe that probably happened. I'm sure she was involved in that in some way, because like Pet Wars. So like
Pet Wars.
Yeah. I don't even know what happened in the Pet Wars. I'm pretty sure she probably fought on Tommy's side. But maybe not. Maybe it was because Tommy killed something. I don't know.
It was
that after Henry died?
Yeah, it was
Henry
Sapnap who was trying to steal Henry and accidentally killed him. And Tommy gets mad and Dream sides with Tommy. And Tommy decides to lava cast his Eiffel Tower, but because the Eiffel Tower is made out of wood, it catches fire instead. And then the battle just kept escalating.
That's... Yeah, that sounds like something Tommy would do.
What happened to the whole thing? Because this was such a big headcanon in, like, season 2 of, Nikki and Ranbu being siblings.
Oh, yeah!
half
Oh, that's
siblings.
because they knew each other before Rambo joined the SMP.
Yeah, so...
They should bring that back.
Yeah,
Especially
liked
since
that.
they're both in the syndicate now.
I actually really like their friendship on the SMP was like really cool. I wish we got more of it because so the whole thing with like them being siblings or not was basically that they knew each other before they joined the SMP, and then like the first day that Ranbu joined, or like the first couple days that Ranbu joined, Nikki said something along the lines of, if you ever need help or something, like, or like, I'll be there to help you, or like, I'll help protect you or whatever. Which is funny because now Ranbu's like the most stacked rich man in the entire server. But she basically like made him this promise that she's like, okay, if you ever need help, I'll always come and help you. Just let me know, because they were, close friends before, or they were pretty close friends at least, before he joined the SMP. That relationship falls apart a little bit because of Doomsday stuff. But before we get to Doomsday stuff, we have to go through the Nikki character development that happened after Wilbur died, because that was like a really big thing for her. November 16th in general was like this huge changing point, sort of, that affected her character and still affects her character, because it's also what turns her into a Wilbur auntie, which is hilarious and absolutely savage. So Nikki, November 16th happens, and prior to November 16th, Nikki was like really close with Wilbur, like best friend close, kind of, like she thought of him as like her best friend, and then she had no idea that he was gonna blow up everything on November 16th, nothing over that. And then shortly after all of that lore, I don't know exactly why, but like content creator Nikki couldn't be on the server for a while. And I think she was gone probably not even a month. Like probably just a few like weeks, but obviously this was like right after November 16th, and so there was like, this was like leading up to like Exile. Maybe she was gone even longer than that actually, because I think she came back like towards when the Green Festival happened, so she was gone for like a month at least.
Wasn't there didn't she have like a date with Puffy?
She had that like when Rambu joined, and then there was like this gap of time between when Rambu joined and the Green Festival where she was just not on the server because she had other things going on, and then she came back and she started doing stuff a little bit, and we learned a couple things about her character though during this time. For one thing, she doesn't know that Ghostbur exists. As far as I'm aware, she still doesn't know that Ghostbur was a thing.
She saw him, but she thought that he was a hallucination.
Yeah, because she never had like a direct conversation with him. She saw him, I think, one time, and thought that he was a hallucination because she doesn't know that ghosts are a thing that happen. So she's like deep in the grieving process because her friend died. Her home was destroyed. Her bakery was like mostly destroyed. And then she leaves, and then she comes back, and in lore, we find out that she didn't know the Green Festival was a thing. She never got an invite, and that she had no idea what happened until Manburg, and no one had talked to her or like.
Wasn't that a thing like out of canon that content creator Nikki didn't know about it and actually had a lore stream planned on that day that she had to delay?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, probably.
Yeah, no, that was exactly what happened. Is like out of lore, actual content creator Nikki. They didn't tell her about the Green Festival, and she had planned like a whole like lore stream she was gonna do on the same day. And then she found out that the Green Festival is happening, and she's got like understandably upset because she was like, I had this whole like thing planned and no one told me anything. Like, I'm a part of Manburg too. Like, I'm a part of the server too. What the hell? But she turned that into...
That's the thing that happens.
Yeah, that's the thing that happens. That was a sign of like communication being not so great.
Shit.
With the SMP, which is a problem they still kind of have. But I think they've gotten a little better about it. But in lore, out of lore, she said she wasn't even sure if she was actually going to attend it because she was just kind of like hurt over the whole thing, which makes sense. Like, I don't blame her for that because like I'd be kind of upset too if suddenly, if like this big thing was happening with like a part of the lore that, like a place in the lore that you had like an attachment to and no one told you it was happening. And it's like a big event, you kind of want to be invited to that or like know what was going on. So like I totally understand why she was upset, but she turned it into lore because she said at first that she wasn't sure if she was even going to stream it, but then she ended up turning it into lore, which worked for our benefit because it was also the beginning of her getting it was the next stage of her character development.
Part 3.
I think most people would probably call her villain arc, but that's not how actual villain arcs work. But the whole not knowing about the Green Festival thing and then just sort of being left out sort of compiled on the issues that she already had with the fact that like people ignored her a lot before and like didn't listen to her, and she always thought that the one person who could was Wilbur, and now he's dead. She still doesn't know that Ghostbur exists. No one told her about Ghostbur. And all of her grief about grief for Wilbur, and then anger over what he did, and then her general just depression and bitterness turned into this giant thing with her just becoming angrier and angrier about Manburg, about Tommy especially, because she thought that that they had been friends sort of, but she kind of came to that same like conclusion that like Jack Manifold did, which is why they team up, that like Tommy's kind of the problem. And like Tommy's the reason like a bunch of bad shit keeps happening, especially when like the community house was when the community house being blown up was blamed on Tommy. She sort of like also joined into that mentality of being like, well, fuck Tommy, this is all his fault, why am I gonna help him? Which is, you know, big character moment, because now we have a Nikki who used to be like one of the most loyal members of Manburg and like one of like the kindest and like friendliest people who was attached to everyone, coming to this conclusion that all of her pain and torment and everything that Manburg had brought to her had only been pain, and it had taken away her best friend, and it had turned him into like a monster, and then Tommy had only made things worse with the discs and him fighting with Dream. And we get to Doomsday, where her, Jack, and Fundy, I don't know, wait, did Jack actually help them sabotage? I know her and Fundy sabotaged the Manburg efforts, because they are the one, I don't remember which one of them did it, but one of them blew up all of the gear that Manburg, and the other
Fundy was the one who blew up the gear.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Yeah, Fundy blows up all of their stuff that Manburg had gathered together to fight Techno and Dream with, which, you know, wouldn't have worked anyways because it's Techno and Dream, but like, that really took any chance they had.
That was fun.
Oh man, Fundy, yeah, Fundy's sort of operating in the same thing. We also get like some weird stuff with like Fundy and the egg maybe too at the same time, which I don't know if that went anywhere.
I think it didn't, like, right before all that happens, doesn't like Rambo go talk to Nikki and Fundy about something pick people not sides thing? Something like that.
There was like an argument. I don't think it was the day of Doomsday, but it was like the day before when after the community house, when Tommy's trying to rally everybody together.
Yeah, that happened, but I think there was like, I think he had like a more personal conversation with one of the two, and then he got upset when one of the two actually took action and did something.
Yeah, it might have been Fundy or it might have been Nikki. I don't remember. I just know he got into like a huge argument in front of everybody. Like with everyone, like a huge argument with like Puffy and Nikki, which is kind of where that relationship sort of broke. And then he gets into a huge argument with Fundy as well, around the same time. But I don't know, that sort of like those relationships sort of splintered. And then Nikki's relationships with everybody just sort of splintered during Doomsday because she's the one to burn down the Leman tree, which is like interesting because
I mean, okay, so like during that entire thing, if you're watching Technospove, you can see like Dreams messaging him, go burn down, go destroy the Leman tree, go destroy the Leman tree. And Techno has no idea what it is. And then Nikki comes along and burns it to the ground, and it's just
Nikki's like, I got it, guys. Don't worry about it.
I got it, fam. She's already part of the syndicate back then. /J.
Hello, and welcome back to another Mellohi Spotlight. If you don't know, this Spotlight section is where we shout out a content creator in the Minecraft YouTuber and Dream SMP fandom to let you wonderful viewers discover new and amazing people to go like. We know that a big part of what makes our fandom so incredible is how many talented people we have creating amazing content in it, and we want to share that with you. This week's Spotlight is an amazing animator known as GomiDD. Gomi is an animator on YouTube with a very polished, sort of cartoony style that is truly something beautiful to behold. They've done some really amazing animatics for the Dream SMP that portray a masterful use of character design and song choices where every frame just fits with the song to a T. The majority of Gomi's Dream SMP animatics are actually featured around a somewhat sympathetic Schlatt portrayal, which is really nifty to see and not something that is often around. Gomi's animatics also feature quite a bit of Ghostbur and Wilbur, some Tommy appearances, Techno, the Dream Team, and they even have a really cute Eric meme animation that you should definitely watch. I personally highly recommend their People I Don't Like and Dictator animatics for some Schlatt representation because they are possibly the only sympathetic Schlatt portrayals I've seen in a long time, and the only thing that makes me... They've really sort of advanced his character a lot considering we don't get a lot from him. Or you can also check out their Psycho meme animatic, which is also about Schlatt, but has quite a few of your other favorite characters, and honestly, you should just watch it for the character designs, because they're pretty great. You can check out Gomi on YouTube at GomiDD, spelled GOMIIDD. Before we get back to the episode, if you have any content creators that you think deserve the spotlight, make sure to let us know by either dropping a comment below one of our YouTube videos or through our Twitter. We also now have a Discord where you can recommend them as well. The more amazing content creators you share with us, the more amazing content creators we can share with everybody else. I'll catch you all next time. Let's go back to talking about Nikki. Bye! Yeah, so Nikki's the one who burns down the Leman tree, which is kind of a big deal. In a weird way, though, because, like, the Leman tree is, like, supposed to have, like, all of this importance and whatever, because it's, like, one of the original trees of Manburg. But the stupid thing about the Leman tree was Schlatt. No, he didn't plant. I don't think he planted it, but Schlatt was the one to, like, be like, this is the Leman tree, or, like, some bullshit. I don't remember if he planted it or not, but, like, Schlatt's the one who claimed it as, like, the historical, like, monument type shit. He's like, okay, well, this is old. We gotta, like, put, bedrock around it or something. Or maybe, well, I don't know. I just know, like, the Leman tree wasn't a thing until Schlatt's reign is when people were like, oh, this tree has importance. And it's just like, okay, it's just a tree. It's been replaced and broken, like, 5 times. It's just a tree. Nikki's the one who burns it down, which is, like, really, really wild for her, and sort of was, like, her pinnacle moment of, like, changing as a person into someone who was like not going to be
pushed
around or forgotten about anymore. It also sends her on her probably, I think, like right after this is when we get some of her like most active lore streams that we see that really focus in on like her mental state and stuff. And it's also shortly after that when we get the really important thing that I mentioned earlier involving her baking. She stops baking!
Didn't she blow up her own bakery?
I don't know if she blew up her own bakery. I just know she shortly, either during, like right after Doomsday or shortly after Doomsday, she's having a stream where she's talking about how angry she is at Tommy, how angry she is at Wilbur, how baking used to be the thing that made her happiness, and now she can't even stomach trying to bake anymore. And it's just this really awfully, like, realistic moment of a character with, like, depression and trauma. And it is... Nikki just does a wonderful job overall portraying her character, and especially like all of like the mental baggage that came with what life has been like on the server, like living with Manburg and all the conflict and stuff like that, and how much of like an effect that like losing Wilbur had on her. It is specifically how she lost Wilbur and how that happened, and then that never getting to meet Ghostbur and have that sort of connection. Or just sort of reflecting on all of the random ass bullshit conflicts that like Tommy dragged the country into because of the discs, or the effect that just like the Manburg elections had and all the conflict that came from that. Like Nikki does like a fantastic job of portraying someone who's been through a lot of like traumatic experiences and a lot of loss and grief and anger. And it all compiles into this character who... This is also when we get her... She, like, changes her skin, as well in Minecraft. She starts wearing Wilbur's trench coat as, like, a cape type thing. Her hair gets turned pink and, turns into, like, a bob as well, I think. I don't know, there's really cool fan art of it. Like, this sort of era of Nikki, like, that Doomsday moment, and then right after that is... the piece of so much beautiful fan art. Oh my lord. Nikki is such a good character. I'm fangirling again.
Nice.
Yeah, so Nikki is just like this and then shortly after this is like sort of her lowest point, but it's also where we get her sort of forming a new relationship or like rebuilding a relationship just on very toxic and unhealthy motivations, because this is when we get Rocket Duo, which you know, Jack and Nikki, best duo, obviously, and I don't know, it's just this huge character change from how she went from this like kind, accepting, like understanding member of Manburg to someone who is so tired of being taken advantage of, being ignored and forgotten about, and then hurt by people who claim to be her friends, that she then decides to channel all of that like anger and grief and rage into hurting other people and trying to, in a way, she's like trying to heal, because she thinks at this point, this is when her and Jack start planning to kill Tommy. Part of her is trying to do it as like a way to heal herself, because she thinks that if she can get rid of him, then all of her problems and all of the pain and anger that comes with that will go away. Which, not a healthy coping mechanism, but kind of an understandable one, because I think a lot of people who, like, go through, like, traumatic experiences, especially ones that they can, like, sort of pinpoint the blame on a specific person, sort of, like, get the same mentality of, like, well, if I can get rid of this person that hurt me, then I can be happy again, I can heal again, I can be fine. And so, again, this is just, like, kudos to Nikki, content creator Nikki, because, like, what she does with this character is truly amazing. And I think even when I was, what was it? Like, back during that lore stream, like, around then, that I was like watching it. I think I posted something on Twitter saying like, you know, we're all talking about like healing arcs and like stuff like that for characters and like character development and like realistic depictions of like trauma and PTSD and like depression and whatever. I'm like, if you want a character to look at who's like a great example of like mental health after like being through traumatic experiences, then you should not be looking at Tommy or whatever that. You should be looking at Nikki, because Nikki does a fan-frickin-tastic job of it, because she depicts like the depression and the angst and just the mentally like traumatic things that her character's been through way better than I feel like a lot of other characters do. And not only that, she shows what a healthy, like, eventually after the whole murder of Tommy thing, which we'll get to, she starts to show how to like healthily recover and heal from all of those like traumatic experiences.
That happens at the end of the Green Festival is she already had a plan to build a secret city. Like, she already had plans to, like, build that, but now she wants to make a secret library, and at the very end of the Green Festival, after she gets upset, and she ends up talking to, like, Eret and Jack, and then Fundy, and then she, like, aims to, like, you know, do all these things, like, so she's like, I'm gonna go build my secret city, and that's what I'm gonna do. And her intentions aren't fully known, but what she makes, like, she is sure to always say that she can no longer trust anyone, because every promise anybody ever made to her, they ended up breaking. Like, she got upset about Dry Waters, which was basically Fundy and Rambu, mostly Fundy, like, and her agreeing to make this, like, country that, the others, like, because she was basically like, oh, we can make something that, like, you know, actually works. And is not Manburg, basically. And then it just kind of fell apart, and that actually makes her upset. And it just keeps happening. It happens again and again, every single time. So her response to trauma is literally just the response of, well, if I don't trust anyone in the first place, then I can't be disappointed when they let me down. Which is like, it's rough. Like, at least she doesn't do the thing where, like, she's like, well, fuck it. Like, you know, if nobody is, like, I'll just become, like, somebody who, like, never, like, listens, who, like, bites back all the time, who, like, fucking just, like, doesn't give a shit. She, like, actually gives a shit. But she just, she becomes so anxious and, like, so like, it's just bad. It's like when she was doing that one stream, and I can't remember exactly when it was, but she was, like, doing a whole monologue, and she changed the world to, like, the actual colors to be black and white, to show how gray the world turned for her. That's one of the most, like, beautifully, like, poignant streams, because, like, it's just, like, how she sees the world, where she's, like, when she's faced with adversity, her trauma response is to go numb and to, like basically lock herself in and, like, bury her emotions, which is just not an effective way to deal with shit, because, like, at the end of the day, you're going to get hurt, and you're going to hurt other people that way. Like, it's just something that happens. Like, her and, like, Puppy's relationship, bro. Oh my god. Sorry, not to, like, jump in with all of that. Nikki is, like...
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like... No.
I'm pretty sure it's after Doomsday.
Oh. No, you're good. Nikki's...
Puppy went out to be a hero and left Nikki alone. Oh, yeah.
So... I think the stream you're talking about with everything going grayscale happens later. I think that's... I don't know if she's done it more than once. I just know she did it after the reveal that... Well, I think it's after Wilbur we find out that Wilbur's alive. She does it again. I don't know if she did it before that, too. But after she finds out that Wilbur's again... I don't know, she might have done it multiple times. I just know, like, So, like, you're right. She has, like, this whole thing with, like, sort of... I don't know, she, like, represses the sad and just focuses on the anger to some extent. Especially at first with, like, directing that towards Tommy. But that changes after a little bit. And this is when I start saying that, like, she shows, like, one of the healthiest healing arcs that we've seen. Because after her and Jack fail to nuke Tommy, which, again, the most hilarious possible thing they could have done. And if they had succeeded... I would have never stopped laughing. that would have been one hell of a way to kill off Tommy in it.
It would just be funny as fuck.
It would have been iconic. Like, can you just imagine Tommy goes through all this bullshit and survives everything, and then he gets taken out by two people he's never looked at twice who nuke him?
God, that would be
me?
so fun.
It would have been
I apologize to any Tommy fans out there, but you have to admit, that would be super funny.
It would have been fantastic. Like, I don't want the kid, well, okay, no, I don't want the kid to die, or, you know, I don't want him to die, but if he was gonna die, like, that would have been the funny way to do it. I don't think anyone could even have been, well, I'm sure people would have been mad about it, but I don't think they would have had credit to be mad about it, because, like, can you think of a more, like, iconic way to go out than to be nuked to death? Like, that's how much someone wanted you dead. They unleashed a nuke just solely at you. Like, that would have been a legacy and a half. But I digress. So, they try and nuke Tommy. It doesn't work. And it sort of leads Nikki to this realization that I think Jack sort of comes to at one point, but it's much later when Tommy actually dies in the prison. But Nikki sort of comes to this realization that she's like, you know what? I failed to do this. And I don't think even if I had succeeded, if it would have actually fixed anything.
Yeah.
Because she thinks about it and she's like, okay, but
killing
Tommy is not gonna fix anything that happened to me. I still don't like the kid, but he's also been through a bunch of bad shit. Which, I think this kind of is where she, like, fully takes a turn into being, like, Wilbur's a son of a bitch. I think this is where she sort of, like, takes that turn into Wilbur auntie. Which, honestly, good for you, girl. You know what? If you're gonna label blame on anybody, Wilbur's a great choice. So she sort of comes to this, and then she keeps working on her city, and I don't know exactly what the time change, like how long it takes between that, but I know, like, the next thing that points out to me is that we see her decide to not kill Tommy anymore. She talks to Jack, and after he comes back to her and is like, okay, we gotta try again, and she tells him no, that Tommy's just a teenager who doesn't justify anything he's done because he's done some bad things, but he's also, like, just as in over his head as a lot of them are, and he's making bad choices just like they have, and she doesn't think that killing him will really solve any of her problems.
There's a lot of shit
Jack
that happens before she joins the syndicate, which is, like, even during it, which is really,
and then so she has that,
because, like, I remember
she joins
watching
the
the Nikki
syndicate
building streams, because I don't
before
remember
the
why
Jack
I was
conversation, but she joins the syndicate, which is a huge step for her because it's also
you were just like,
one
wait,
of
what the
the,
fuck?
like,
Like, one of the things that she would do is she didn't eat anymore. So what she would do is she would jump off of, like, high places to die to reset her hunger bar. Yeah, and then she also canonically like couldn't really sleep, and then when she did, she slept walk so much that she built her, like, room purposely to stop her from leaving it, and it was just like, oh my god, it was just really bad. And another thing is that when the nuke happens and, like, they don't kill Tommy, it's not even like Jack at that point is like, well, whatever, we give, like, he's just kind of like, okay, whatever, we failed. Nikki, like, wants to kill Tommy still. Like, Jack has to actually, like, I don't remember exactly what he says, but he's just like, Nikki, no, like, you can't just, like, kill, like, him in front of, like, all these, like, you know, it's like, no. Because, like, there's the weird party they have at Snowchester because, like, it's a successful, like, test, like, nuke test, and, like, for some reason, they all drank, like, alcohol, and Tommy has radiation poisoning, which never gets addressed again, which is funny as hell. And, like, she just wants to kill him the whole time. It's so fucked up. And I'm like, bro. But then, so, thank God, she, like, manages to, like, have the syndicate, and, like, there's, like, a lot of things that actually change, with, like, her whole mindset. Like, she goes back to having, like, the underground city instead of just the underground library. And she, like, wants to, like, actually move people into it, because before she didn't want to move anybody in there. She like talked about that. She was like I can't trust anyone, so I'm just gonna build this place for myself and just move away from the entire server. But now she like wants to put people in the city because she joined the syndicate. And like yes, Punk actually has a room with a Sam poster in it. He makes these fucking posters. Yeah, it's Punk's room is funny as fuck. Yeah.
Didn't she invite Punk into the city?
Yeah.
Nah, yeah.
Yeah.
It's just like Nikki's
And
lore is dark
one of
as
H-Bomb's
hell.
characters
I mean, like,
as well.
she canonically, like, does... It's just...
The one who
you're like,
likes being
God.
waterboarded, apparently.
And she, like, still cares about Puffy and, like, wants to protect her, but at the same time
His
is,
lore
like,
is so
at odds
cursed.
with her. And I'm like, bro...
Punk is wild.
Um...
It's so dark! It's so sad! And, like...
Yeah!
Yeah. But, so, like, she's, like, gets with the syndicate, right? And, like, she starts feeling better. Like, she starts being happier. She starts baking again, which is, like, that one thing that really, like... I remember that moment
when she brought a whole bunch of cookies and like
pies
and a cake
on like her stream where she goes, I started baking again, and I just remember like the few people I watch or I follow who like watch Nikki's stuff, and like her entire chat just went into like sobbing because they were like, oh my god, she's finally doing better, like she's doing something
healing.
That she's healing, she's doing something she loves doing, and hasn't had the chance to, or like hasn't been mentally healthy or happy enough to do. And it's like this giant moment, even though it's just like this one little line, and it's so like triumphant. And then like we get like Techno's birthday party stream where she calls where she just absolutely slanders Wilbur, which is hilarious, but you can just see her like getting more confident in herself and like as a person, because she's now finally with a group that are like willing to listen to her and actually like let her have a seat at the table and talk and discuss her opinions. And
she's just as important as everyone else there.
Yeah, and she's not focusing solely on like just killing Tommy. Like, she doesn't like the kid, but she also isn't like spending her entire day like plotting revenge,
fantasizing about revenge,
which is not a healthy thing to be doing. So we start to see her get healthier and happier, and then of fucking course Wilbur comes back to life. Fucking Wilbur every time. But
I'm gonna bring up the Tumblr post of just fuck you suitings, fuck you suitings.
Yeah, so she finds out Wilbur comes back, and unfortunately I never got to watch the stream. I really should have gone back and watched the VOD afterwards, but I know that is like one of the streams where she how should I say, she does the grayscale thing again, where like her entire world, like she goes back home to her city and her entire screen just turns gray as she starts thinking about the fact that Wilbur's alive again, and what she's gonna do for that, because she's been grieving him and then being incredibly angry with him for months now, and now he's just back and he hasn't come to see her. She doesn't know what he's doing, she doesn't know where he is, and it's still this like I just remember like one of the lines from that stream is just like, I thought I was getting better and now he's back. And it's just like this heart-wrenching moment, because you're like, oh, you were doing fantastic, you were doing better, you were healing, you picked up your old hobbies, you had people you could rely on, you had friends. Shit, the guy that was primarily, I want to say like at fault, but like primarily involved with a lot of like your trauma and grief and depression is now back and alive, and he's out there somewhere. And like that was just heart-wrenching, because you're just like, Nikki, I want you to be happy, and now we can't. Yeah. And I'm just
the savagery though.
Oh yeah, that Nikki line where she was like, what was it?
Someone who makes empty promises. Was it Wilbur by any chance?
Yeah, exactly. Oh man, Nikki's a freaking savage though. Like she deserves, out of all the characters on the SMP, I feel like she's one of the ones
She
who
has the
gets like
sickest
underrated the most, and she needs the respect because that girl is a fucking savage and a half, and she's
a full-on flamethrower.
Yes, Nikki, support Nikki. If you don't know anything about Nikki, I'm pretty sure she did I think she did a recap stream, kind of like how Jack did, about her character and why she... Yeah, Rambo did one too. I think Nikki did one. I think so.
I feel like she did a stream explaining her character's motivations.
Yeah. Which, if she has, which I think she has, and you haven't watched it, then I highly recommend going to watch it, because Nikki's character is just, like, truly one of those characters that gets put on, like, the sidelines a lot, but deserves, like, mainline spotlight, and, like, we as fans say that, but then, like, we even have, like, other content creators in the SMP saying that, like, her character is super interesting, because I know Dream was, like,
Dream mentioned he was very excited to see Nikki lore.
Yeah, he was like, I'm really excited for what she's gonna do. I think it was her and Rambo who said that he was, like, super excited to see what they were gonna do. And I'm still super excited to see what Nikki's gonna do. I need to keep an eye out for...
Yeah,
we all need to keep eyes out
she went back
for
to, like,
Dream
the
SMP Nikki
for,
streams, because
the, like, party
they are
birthday
going to
thing
be
that they built
angsty
outside. And the most recent thing she did was she just reflected on, like, Wilbur. And then I think the last, like... She, like, found the diamonds that, like, Wilbur, or, like, something like that. Like, she has something that, that he gave her at the bakery. And I can't remember exactly, like, everything that happens. But it basically ends with her being more at peace with herself. And that was, like, that's the last thing I remember seeing. But I'm interested to see, like, what she does with, you know, the city and, like, what she wants to do with, like, moving people in there. I mean, she ended up being the one... Yeah, like, she's helped Ponk multiple times, like, you know, Ponk lives, like, he technically lives there, he's supposed to be living there, and, like, she helped him with his arm, and she, like, also, like, when Ponk was, like, scared of like, the creeper he saw, and it was like, Nikki, kill it, it's evil, Nikki, like, calmed him down.
Kanoko Kingdom as well.
And was like, no, it's just the Minecraft creeper, basically, it's not Sam, and, like, you know, it's like, she doesn't have to do these things, it's not her job to be, like, the person who cares for people on the server. But the fact of the matter is like, yeah, it's like, it's not like her job and she shouldn't have to do it, but like she goes out of her way still, like if somebody, like, you know, if she recognizes that behavior of somebody just basically like being fucked over by somebody else, and so she'll help them.
Yeah.
Not her job to be the therapist.
She's doing a... Yeah.
I think it's just because, she's just
and,
so
like,
human.
Nikki is the therapist that the Dream SMP needs.
She just recognizes, like, the hurt that people, like,
but
have
Puffy's
to
got
endure,
a 5
and
degree
she just is like,
and
well, I
has no
have this
expertise
underground city,
talking about.
and it's got plenty of apartments.
Yeah, no, Nikki's, like, one of the most, like, heartfelt, kind person. Yeah. Like...
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah! No, I was gonna bring that up.
Plenty of room.
I know you mentioned earlier that she said that she was gonna go build this underground city where she just wouldn't have to be around anyone. She doesn't have to trust anybody.
They need to rest. Yeah.
And the difference between that and then what the underground city has
become.
It's the
mutual aid. Like,
this is in the stream with Jack.
Yeah.
She said that it's just a place where anyone can come.
He's got a home. He got the biggest house.
If they need a place to go, like if this is, it's like
a place for the lost.
It's like the homeless shelter of the SMP. Like anyone who needs help or a little support can come.
You know who's homeless on the SMP right now?
Dream. Well, no, he's in prison. He's got the biggest house, don't you know?
Because
he's not gonna have the biggest house once he's broken out, so he's gonna need a place to stay, and the best place to stay is Nikki's underground prison,
Honestly,
underground
city,
and
immediately hates Wilbur a bit more.
I would sell my left foot for Dream to go and have a redemption.
That is my
arc at Nikki's.
That is my crack theory that I am very attached to.
Going off. But
I don't blame her for that.
yeah, she's just like, oh god, fuck that. Like, and then she mentions that they both basically just do this thing where they build nations and then hurt the people in them. And like, to be fair,
she's pissed at Dream because of his relation with Wilbur. That's so funny.
From Nikki's perspective, that's probably how it looked, but yeah.
Dream does not build nations. Nations pop up like weeds underneath him.
Yeah, that's true. Honestly,
That's true.
I feel like Nikki and Dream could be like the best of bros. Yeah.
But like, it solves the whole problem. Everybody knows Techno and Dream are like allies, so everybody's gonna go look for Techno's place. No one's gonna expect him to be hiding out in Nikki's.
Yeah, no one's gonna expect them to be with Nikki. And, that is... Oh, man. Nikki's just, like, one of the best characters
really
on
is.
the SMP. She's... If there's very few characters... Like, everyone on the SMP is pretty much in the morally gray zone, and I think that's true for Nikki as well, considering she tried to nuke someone. But if we're gonna go with like D&D alignments or something like that, and I know we did an episode on this, but if there was any character on the SMP that I would have to put into like neutral good or something like that, it'd be Nikki. She's like the only good aligned, like properly good aligned person I think on the SMP who stays good aligned. Everyone else is pretty much like true neutral or like with a little bit of leaning like one way or the other, but like Nikki,
but yeah,
my love, get your healing therapy arc so you can beat the shit out of all these dumbass boys on the server who are just doing the stupidest shit. Please, for the love of God.
What
yeah,
the fuck?
I am
Carl,
interested to seeing if there's going to be any conflict between Kanoko and her city, because they're like basically right next to each other, and Carl has said he's wanted to annex annex her underground city before.
Oh yeah, I saw that one thing where it was like, oh, they build a city on
there's
top
a whole
of
conflict there between
something like that. I don't
like,
remember exactly what she said, but I was like, damn. Oh yeah.
There's like a whole thing on the content creator side of a little bit of drama around Kanoko Kingdom and the underground city and how that went. Yeah!
They built a country on top of your city.
Because Nikki lived there and was building a whole city, and then the others, Carl and George and Sapnap, just spontaneously sort of decided to build right over her city, and they never talked to her about it. But now it's like a lore thing, so she's like, I can't do anything about that. And I was just like, you know what? I don't blame you for being a bit, salty about that, because that sucks.
It always happens, though. Like, she does something, she's doing something, she's planning to doing something, and then someone else from the server fucks over her plans because they don't bother talking to her about this stuff, these kind of things. And it's like, they need to have a Google Doc of what they're planning, a basic outline of what they're planning to do, so they don't accidentally step on each other's toes like that.
I don't know,
Oh, Dream SMP.
Yeah, here's the hoping for Nikki
language.
Lore.
The only universal language is language.
On that note, I feel like that's probably a good place for us to, end this episode. We've covered how wonderful Nikki is, in great detail. Yeah, and hopefully next week we're going to talk about the other side of Rocket Duo, Jack Manifold. And we'll see y'all next week.
Bye-bye!
Bye!
Well, thanks for listening to the 24th episode of Mellohi, and we hope you enjoyed it. If there's any topic you'd like to hear us discuss, feel free to leave a comment or find us on Twitter at Mellohi Podcast. You can also ask us questions or just get updates about new episodes. We also have a Discord server that you can find a link to in the description. See you next time!